Donald Trump squelched an effort to deem him the presumptive Republican nominee. One of his key allies on the Republican National Committee, David Bossie, had pitched a draft resolution that leaked to the press to declare Trump the presumptive nominee following his double-digit victories in both Iowa and New Hampshire. The argument here is that Nikki Haley, Trump's last standing rival, doesn't really have a clear path to the nomination, and that, in recent history at least, no one has gone on to win the Republican nomination for the presidency without winning either Iowa or New Hampshire. Bossie was also stressing that Republicans should concentrate fire on President Biden, who's going to be the real tough battle in the 2024 cycle, rather than wasting money on a bitter primary competition that he thinks is already over at this point. Bossie is from Maryland. He's a key ally of Trump, having previously served as Trump's 2016 deputy campaign manager. But in a surprise move, Trump had shot down this draft resolution on Truth Social. He basically said to the RNC, "Thank you, I'm flattered, but no thank you. Let's let this process play out." It's not clear whether or not the RNC would have actually voted to enact this resolution. The RNC is set to hold its annual winter meeting in Las Vegas next week, where it likely would have considered this. Typically, to win the presidency, Republicans need to have someone get 1,215 delegates to win the nomination. Trump already right now is believed to be at 32 based on projections in New Hampshire, as well as the final results in Iowa. Nikki Haley is standing at 17 based on that preliminary information. Declaring someone the presumptive nominee is pretty unusual for someone who's not technically an incumbent. Of course, Trump is in the unique position and a pretty rare position of having previously served as president, but then having lost and then headed back to try for the presidency one more time. So it's a pretty unique scenario. RNC chairwoman earlier this week, just after Trump's victory in New Hampshire, had come out publicly and said that she considers Trump to be the guy that's going to be the party nominee, and that Nikki Haley doesn't really have a clear path forward in her mind. Now, McDaniel doesn't write resolutions or consider resolutions like this, so her words were just her own analysis at this point, but she is the RNC boss, and this whole thing really, I think, underscores Trump's grip on the Republican Party. 8 years ago, he faced stiff resistance, and there were factions of the RNC that were pretty uneasy about him, but now you just see his total dominance, and it looks like a lot of the top brass is really in sync with him, even though there are some voices that have some complaints and some wariness about him. A lot of the top Republicans are really keen on showing loyalty to him. Trump places a high value on loyalty. This week, for example, he drew a line in the sand and basically suggested that anyone who donates to Nikki Haley's campaign will be permanently barred from MAGA world. We'll see if he follows through on that. Nikki Haley had touted over $1 million in donations since Trump's threat on Truth Social. But a lot of top Republicans are really trying to cozy up to Trump in anticipation of him getting the party nomination, and they're trying to really push for party unity to put the bitterness and the division behind and really focus on President Biden. Meanwhile, Haley is still carrying on. She's campaigning in her home state of South Carolina. Polls have her down double digits, although the polling, I should say, is fairly sparse there compared to what it was in Iowa and New Hampshire. There's a lot more data in those two states, and South Carolina is, of course, a month away, so Haley is hoping she can pick up some momentum.